Mike Winters.
And good morning. It is 18 minutes after 9 o'clock, and joining us on the phone this morning, head coach of the Eastern New Mexico University Portales Greyhounds, Coach Ty Hiatt, on the phone with us this morning. Morning, Coach. How you doing today?
I am doing great, Mike. How are you?
Doing great. First off, thank you for spending some time to chat with us. Appreciate that. And I guess I should say welcome to New Mexico, too. You took over back in about April, I think, right?
Yep, it was, no, thank you for the welcome. It was April 19th, so towards the end of April, so right towards the end of the academic semester and everything else. And you know, it's funny, every day since I took over the program, I always tell people I feel like it's 4th and 1.
Yeah.
You know, every single day, you know, we're just trying to get a little bit better.
It's well, and let me ask, how is just coaching in the COVID era? I don't care what program or what level you're coaching at, it's different. I mean, how has that been? I mean, even coming to a new program, I mean, granted, you're kind of coming out of those COVID protocols, but on top of basically coming in and putting your stamp on this program, you also got to deal with all the COVID and everything else. I mean, how has that process been going for you?
Well, you know what I can tell you really from a coaching side is, you know, coaches are creatures of habit. You know, we have a certain way that we do things, and you get in a program and you do certain things a certain way. And when COVID hit last spring, I think it was really a piece for coaches where it was like, you know, we ask our players all the time when we recruit them, right? We bring them in the program and say, hey, well, we're going to switch. We're going to do this. You're going to do that. And we ask them to change. And then I'll tell you, right when COVID hit, coaches had to change. You know, and that was hard for coaches because now there's all these protocols, there's all these things that we need to do, and obviously everything was great for the player safety, obviously for everyone, right?
Sure.
But it was, but yeah, there were definitely changes, and you know, even this fall, you know, there's more people are getting vaccinated, and which is great, you know, and then some people choose not to, but then you have all the different things where you got to make sure all the protocols are still good because there's still going to be testing from the NCAA and those type things. So yeah, it's definitely an adjustment. And I'll tell you, with my background, you know, almost every single program I've been in as a college coach, it was either some type of turnaround or there was some type of adversity, you know, to overcome. So I kind of think with where I was at beforehand, coming here, you know, Coach Lee had done a great job with the program, and it's a really, really good program. And beforehand with Coach Lynn and everything. And so the challenge won't be so much with, I think, our players, because I think we have some great young men. It's just going to be overcoming everything with COVID and not playing football for a year and a half.
Sure. I mean, has it been because now you got a rust issue, but then, I mean, obviously, as a new head coach coming in, you're going to put your stamp, your philosophy on the program here, and even if your philosophy is similar to the prior coach and everything, there's still going to be changes and implements. So I know everybody's behind the 8 ball, so it's the same problem for everybody. But as the new coach coming in, you're already creating a culture change in some way, shape, or form. But now you got a culture change you've got to convince them of, and also, by the way, let's shake the rust off and get back to football basics too. I don't know if that's an easy transition or are they one and the same for you? Is that the same thing?
Yeah.
Talk about two
I definitely think I definitely think it all falls in the same piece.
Yeah.
You know, because it's, you know, when you take over a new program, like you said, every coach is going to have their different stance on what they feel is important for the pillars of the program and the foundation, and then you add COVID on top of it, and really it's all kind of, you've got so much adversity. You know, the thing that we talk about all the time as coaches is, you know, it's an everyday process, and I think that's probably the hardest thing right now is that, you know, not to ramble too much, but like we live in a world with the social media and everything else where everything is the instant gratification. It's all right now.
Sure.
And, you know, that's probably the hardest thing as a coach is just understanding that, hey, this is going to be a process that it's going to take some time to get up to it because, you know, when you look at every program went through COVID, but especially here in New Mexico, and I'll tell you the high school coaches know it better than anyone because they only played a few games last spring. ourselves in Western New Mexico, the rest of our conference in Texas was playing games, and the two of us weren't.
Right. That's a huge
So
disadvantage for you guys.
Yeah, huge disadvantage, and you know what? And not even so much for our program, because that is definitely important. But I think for our kids, it was really hard, because they're here to get a great state education, regional education, and network and connections and do well, but then to not be able to do the thing that they really love. I think it was really difficult from a mental standpoint, and now just being able to overcome all those things. And by the way, we're going to play some really good football teams.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and by the way, if you go to if you just actually you can Google it, but if you go to greyhoundathletics.com, something like that, you can kind of see the football schedule and all the other sports schedules too. By the way, the Greyhounds will start their season on September 2nd, taking on Central Washington University, and that's a home game for you guys, right? So
yes, it is. That'll be a Thursday night.
Yeah, so mark that on the calendars. But I've always been kind of, I've seen I don't know. I'm sure you're familiar with on Netflix, the Last Chance U programs and those types of things. For folks that aren't familiar with Greyhound football, the student athletes that are on your team are most of them with goals of just getting a degree? Do some of them have aspirations to play for a Division I school? Or, what's generally the average student athlete on your team? What's kind of their path that they're trying to achieve?
Yeah, I think a lot of the kids that come to Eastern, so we are NCAA Division II, so we're allowed to be able to give athletic scholarships and be able to help kids pay for their schooling, obviously, while they're here playing good college football.
Sure.
I think a lot of the kids that we get, or the other kids that I think that do really well here at Eastern that we try to recruit are young men that are really serious about their education.
Mm-hmm.
They're serious about whatever field or wherever they want to study and they want to pursue. They're really serious about football because it is very time-consuming, and we put a lot of effort into it. And I think the other piece, too, is just socially.
Yeah.
That the kids have to do well socially with being here in Portales. And Mike, I actually grew up, so I'm originally from Eastern Oregon.
Okay.
I grew up on a cattle ranch. So Portales, when I came in the interview, it was like home. With the boots. Yeah.
It's country. A different country, but it's still country. Yeah.
But it's still country and just great people. But I'll tell you, like the kids that we get here, they have to embrace those three things, because one of the things we talk about all the time as coaches is just whole person development.
Mm-hmm.
And in order to do really well and to be successful, you have to have those three keys. And so kids that we have here, there's been some NFL players, Mike Sinclair, Conrad Hamilton, who played in the NFL. Like, we have a couple kids right now that at previous schools that I've been with working with NFL scouts, CFL scouts. Like, we have a couple kids right now that I think have a chance to be able to obviously be at that level and be able to do that if they pursue it. But I think the biggest thing for us is making sure that we have kids here that are going to graduate.
Yeah.
They're going to be serious about everything they're doing because once they come here, we're a little bit different than that of a junior college, where a junior college is a 2-year school. So like NIMI is a great example. A lot of kids go to NIMI, and it's a great structure. Like, I love the military aspect of it. I love everything about it. But a lot of those kids, they then try to go to a Division I school.
Sure.
And we've actually, Eastern's done a great job of getting some of those kids at NIMI here to then finish their 4-year degree. So once we get them here in the program, our goal here is to keep them for that 4.5, 5 years to make sure that they graduate.
Sure.
And I'll tell you, probably the biggest trend right now is kids not only getting their undergraduate degree, but then getting a master's degree as well.
Yeah. I'm kind of curious now. When you, as a Division II coach, do you obviously when we talk with student athletes, coaching student athletes or students in general is way different than coaching at a pro level and things, because obviously you serve as a mentor. I don't care what level of coaching you're a mentor, but obviously with younger kids, you're like being a Division II coach versus what the Division I coach is like Like, do you get to be more of that mentor type in Division Two than because Division One, obviously, programs are programs, but Michigan, those places, they've got lots of dollars, lots of sponsorships, a lot of money, a lot of things going on there, and so it's easy to get lost in that shuffle of everything. Whereas at Eastern here, working, do you get that? Do you get that advantage of being able to be more of that mentor than where you're sometimes a big school like that, you get lost in the shuffle a little bit? Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, you're 100% right.
Yeah.
One of the things that I think the Division I level is tremendous, and obviously the ultimate level of competition, amateur-wise, that you can do, and there's so many great things with that. And I know so many great coaches that try to have that balance.
Mm-hmm.
But I would say one of the things that's really appealed me to Division II for so long is just, again, we're talking about scholarship football, so we're able to really have some great young men and players in our program.
Yeah.
But at the same time, one of the things that I've always enjoyed is, like myself, my wife and I, we have 3 little boys. And one of the things that I've always enjoyed is that when we are at practice or I can have players over to my house,
mm-hmm.
We have time to do that. We have time for the kids to then be able to see our coaches in a different spotlight, because I think you would ask any of the coaches, and there's a lot of great coaches in this state that I've already met,
mm-hmm.
but they're all about developing people, and especially with some of the young men that we recruit in football, maybe that they don't have both mom and dad at home, or maybe there's unfortunate where they're living with an aunt, uncle, or they're living with grandma, grandpa, whatever the case is. And so for us as coaches to then be able to have that time to get to know these young men on a personal level,
yeah,
and really, then when the young men struggle, because we all go through struggles at that age from 18 to 23, as a coach, you're there that now that you've connected, you're able to help them through that transition.
Sure.
And I would say, and I'd be lying to say, like, every game we play, I want to win. Like, I love competition. That's why we're doing it. But I think it's also extremely rewarding when we have young men that, they reach back out to you. They reach out 2, 3, 4, 6 years later just to say hi.
Yeah.
I think that's probably one of the most rewarding things you can do as a coach.
Well, and I'm guessing, too, for some of these, obviously they've probably played some kind of football prior to coming to Eastern here, but that's probably the one place where they felt like part of something, and for you to have them at that part and say, hey, and really you get to get them at that level where it's like, all right, you've understand the team concept and you've grown up playing football and things. Now, how do we apply these lessons into your next phase of life? And I think, yeah, you almost have that unique, you get to be that last person for some of these students to kind of be that last, hey, here's your last bit of before you're turned out to the real world here, so to speak. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. No, you're exactly right. And I think that's probably the beauty of the division where we're at. Cause I even think with that relationship, you can do that at the FCS level, the 1AA level, where it's really high intensity. There's a lot of time commitment,
sure.
But you also have time as coaches. And I think, too, one of the things is we just hired a new athletic director, Paul Weir.
Mm-hmm.
And that was one of the things that him and I have talked about is that, like being able to be there for the student athletes and help them through the transition, because there's so many more challenges that are exposed to kids on a daily basis. And again, when I go back to like social media and those type of things,
mm-hmm.
where I think that they need really good leadership from their coaches, from their administration,
mm-hmm.
at all different levels of schooling. I just think that's a huge piece to help them be successful down the road.
Absolutely. And that's where I know, unfortunately your job gets judged based on wins and losses, but I think at the end of the day, your real job is how many students came out of there with degrees, how many students have gone on to be successful adults. I mean, that to me, when you got a football program that's churning those out, I think that's almost the bigger success than the wins and losses and the champion. I mean, those are all nice, but when it comes
mm-hmm.
to the big picture, Unfortunately, and I'm sure like you said, your relationship with the new athletic director. It sounds like you guys are heading in that direction. But I'm sure as a coach, it's hard to get. I'm being judged on my wins and losses, but man, these kids, every one of these kids went from not ready to be adults to now thriving individuals, and sometimes we miss that's the big win at the end of the day. So it's great to see that not only you, but it sounds like the new AD and the whole staff's kind of on that same mantra and mindset.
Yeah, well, and I think it goes back to just having, and probably just like any business organization, like an education with administration, just having people that understand those things. Because, like, one of our recruiting pitches here is that we want you to graduate. We not only want you to graduate, we want you to learn how to be a better person, to serve other people. Which I can tell right now with we have a lot of kids in our team and a lot of kids from the state of New Mexico that are like that. And the second thing we tell them is, like, well, if we're going to put in all this work to do all that, well, we might as well win a few games too.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Well, and I would guess as a coach, and if I'm wrong, tell me, but like if you had a team full of players that maybe didn't know the fundamentals but had the drive, you'd probably rather work with that than a team full of everyone's got the fundamentals but have no concept of team concept. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you can train the skills, but the mindset is something that they have to come with it, and you can help them, lead them that way. But if they don't have the mindset, it's really hard for you to kind of get your values and stuff into them, right?
Yeah, and we talk about that as coaches. I'm glad you brought that up because we sit in staff meetings and we say, oh, well, that's why they put a C on our chest.
Yeah.
Like as coach, because you got to develop and coach, and I'll tell you, to your point. So I was on the phone a couple of days ago with Bill Snyder. So Bill Snyder, legendary Hall of Fame coach at Kansas State. He has a degree from Eastern New Mexico.
Nice.
And so I was talking to him, and I was just picking his brain, being a new head coach and everything, and trying to figure out, like, hey, what's the secret sauce, right? Like what is the secret formula to winning and everything else? And boy, and it came back to what you were saying, Mike, is he said, it comes back to people.
Yeah.
He said, you've got to get the right people. And one of the things that he was big on is pulling the rope. He said, you've got to get everyone pulling the rope in the same direction, because if you have people with that mindset that want to work together and they're going to show up every day and be accountable, like, you're going to be very, very successful. He's like, don't get lost in chasing those players or those young men that look really fancy or this and that, because when you try to build a team, they're not going to be on the same page. And ultimately, in the game of football, I think it's really the greatest team sport, because, like, we tell the kids all the time that if we're on offense, there's 11 players on the field and there's only one football.
Yeah.
So you have to learn how to be able to play for each other and do those things, because not everyone's going to get to touch the football.
Sure. Well,
and that's just why it's such a good piece.
And you're right. I mean, obviously certain positions are going to garner more attention than others just because of, quarterbacks, obviously they're lightning rods on teams. They just are. But I don't care. I mean, yeah, you look at NFL and Tom Brady goes into Tampa and look at what they do and all that, but I guarantee Tom Brady isn't winning Super Bowls by himself. I know it looks that way sometimes and all that, but to be honest, without that offensive line, without Coach Arians basically getting the right things out of Tom Brady, that's just it. We see, like, one person making an impact on a team, which is absolutely can happen, but if there's not that team cohesion, especially in football, I don't care. I mean, you've seen that too. You look at certain star quarterbacks on a team that's not working, and that person's running all over the field like a crazy person trying to make something happen, and it isn't happening. And that's all because the team concept's not working there. And that's so regardless of how superstar you are, without that team concept, you're going to fail every time. And I think NFL kind of skews that a little bit, but it does absolutely still hold the case. I mean, am I pretty close on that?
No, 100%. I think with the Buccaneers, I think that's the greatest example, because, Tom Brady, if you look at what they did, and there's many books that talk about it, but with the Patriots, they Bill Belichick always talked about it's not about getting the most talented players on your team.
Mm-hmm.
It's about getting the right players on your team.
Yeah, the chemistry.
With the specific talent. Yeah, the chemistry. And to your point, I think with Tom Brady and their mindset of team and those type of things, I think it gets overlooked, especially at that level, because so many people, like at that level of football, every team is good.
Mm-hmm.
Like really good. Every player, like even though when we watch, we think, oh, well, they're not very good.
They're the best.
Yeah.
They're the best at it. They came from towns where they were the superstars at everything they did, Yeah.
Yes, and it goes back to the organization and the team and the cohesion and, and figuring out what is that formula that is going to be best fitted for your organization or program.
Yeah.
And those are the teams that are so successful. Because you look at the Kansas City Chiefs beforehand. I mean, everyone loves Patrick Mahomes, and he's a great player. But really, what I think it was is that when Andy Reid took over,
mm-hmm.
and they had a team quarterback in Alex Smith beforehand, that was really where it started to change. And even when Patrick Mahomes overtook for Alex Smith,
mm-hmm.
Alex Smith didn't come out and all of a sudden get mad at the media or anything else. He obviously wanted to play, and in the business, you got to go somewhere where you can play. But he was a team guy.
Absolutely,
and I just think that's the biggest thing.
Absolutely, and just think of because Patrick Mahomes was wise enough to listen to the tutelage of the coach and the veteran quarterback. Now we look at him, and it seems to pay it off, I think.
Yeah. I think everything's working out for him.
But then again, you look at Al Smith, and he went on. Unfortunately, had the leg injury and everything. I'm a big Redskins fan, by the way, so that's where I'm from originally. So don't hold that against me or anything. But
no, where are you at from? So are you from Maryland or Virginia?
Maryland. I'm from. I was born in PG County, but I grew up mostly in southern Maryland in Charles County, Waldorf area. So.
Okay.
Yeah, are you from that area?
So the last school I was at, the last two schools. So I was at Shepherd University, which is right in the panhandle of West Virginia.
Okay.
And then the previous school before that, I was at Frostburg State, which is Western Maryland.
Oh yeah, I know Frostburg. That's up close to Baltimore in that area. Yeah. I was a little closer to the D.C. area, farther south, down probably.
Okay.
Yeah, and matter of fact, I'm about. Depending on traffic, 45 minutes from hitting into like southern part of Virginia and all that. So across
the southern part of that.
Yeah. So that's
well, I'll tell you that the people out there, they love the Redskins, and now the Washington football team.
Yeah,
see if they can get a name.
Well, I ain't gonna lie. I'm cautiously optimistic. I love what Ron Rivera's done with that program, and for a first time in a long time, I feel like that's a team that's not an embarrassing debacle out there. So,
yeah, no, I agree. No, there's good people out there.
Yeah. So, I know we're running short on time, but kind of give me a preview of your off season. I know it's not far away, but we're still a couple months away from first game of the season here. What's is it starting to ramp up with two-a-days and all that now? What's kind of, I don't know if that's a high school term or what, but
no,
is that, are you getting into that part of the off season here, or are we still a little bit from that?
No, we are. So we've had about 60 young men on campus right after the 4th of July.
Okay.
And they've been running, lifting, and the NCAA actually just passed a rule where players can come in and get some voluntary work with our coaches on a one-on-one basis. And so, it's been good for us as coaches. We've been working pretty hard, but we know we got a lot of ground to make up. So we've had our kids come in and everything. And I'll tell you, I've been really proud because we've got some kids, that drive up and spend the night on older players' couches. Like we got some kids from the region and everything else that are driving an hour and a half and
that's cool.
Come up for the workout and everything. And so we're getting going. We start training camp on August 5th. So we're 15 days away from when we start training camp. And then before you know it, September 2nd will be here.
So as a coach, because I imagine for you as a coach, that's the fun part of your job, right? I mean, when people have an aspiration to be a head coach of a football team, they're not dreaming about creating schedules and logistics and all the real work. that a coach does for a football team that doesn't happen. You dream of the part where you're sitting on a field and you got guys hitting sleds and, you know, and all that kind of stuff. So I imagine for you as a coach, this is the whole reason I'm doing. So, I mean, this has got to be probably the most exciting part as a coach for you, is getting into training camp, right?
Oh, it is the best part, because you're exactly right. The thing with everything else that you do with being the head coach, with just like you're saying, the administrative piece and paperwork and those type of things, and those are all really important.
Sure.
But the best part of my day is that when our kids get done running in the morning with our strength coaches, and then we can get out there and get with them and be able to work on football, and that is the best piece of it, just because our kids are hungry and they want to get better.
Yeah.
And you're exactly right. That's the whole reason we're here, is to help them develop.
Yeah. Well, I know you're excited, and I know we'll get to talk to you some more down the road here and through the season, hopefully. And so we'll chit-chat more, but I really do appreciate you talking with us. And I'm one of those people, I love this side of it, and I think college athletics really gets you to, you know, we all know the X's and O's and winning and all that, which is awesome, and that's fun, and that's why we love the sports. But at this level, you get to impact so many lives, and I think that's the cool part. And I enjoy talking that kind of stuff with you. So I appreciate you spending some time with me about that.
No, you're welcome, and I appreciate it, Mike, and I look forward to talking to you here in the next couple of days.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, Coach. Enjoy your the rest of your week here, and don't drink plenty of water. I know it gets hot out.
Yeah, that's right. No. Hey, thanks a lot. Have a good weekend.
All right. Take care, Coach. Bye-bye. All right. That was Coach Ty Hiatt. He is head coach of ENMU Portales Greyhounds there. We'll be chit-chatting with him throughout the season and everything. And first year taking over, really a new combo with Paul Weir being brought on as the AD there at for the Greyhounds. And then, of course, we have Coach Hiatt there taking over. Exciting things happen there. This is the fun part. I love talking program stuff. I love watching football and all that, but I'm a behind-the-scenes guy, and I love talking that stuff. So I appreciate Coach spending some time chit-chatting with me about that. Hey, it is 9:46. Let's go ahead and pause for